I still play some of their songs on my internet station now. But I started listening to it back in the late 70s, early 80s, right when I graduated from high school and starting my first year of college was when I listened to it the most.
Welcome back to the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs, and it's an honor to be speaking with another guest, a friend of mine who I worked in radio with for, about 15 years. And he hosts a online channel called Gospel Vibes. Robert T. Graves, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh.
Well, tell us about your background growing up and what got you into radio.
What actually got me into radio was about age 10, I saw a movie called Melinda, and the main character was a radio DJ, and he drove a Corvette, he was a ladies' man, and he knew karate. And I wanted to be like him. So that's what started it. And then a little later on, maybe a couple of years later, we started listening to AM radio station, AM 1230 KGFJ, and there was a morning man by the name of Alvin John Waples that was on, and I could always imitate his voice, and I thought he was so cool, and I wanted to be a radio DJ listening to him and all the other DJs that was on that station at the time. And I knew that's what I wanted to do as far as being on the radio. So that was my dream, to be a radio DJ, as they called it at that time.
And KGFJ, what was the format at the time?
It was R&B soul.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that station
they would be considered oldies now because we started listening to it like in the late 60s and throughout the 70s.
Wow, that's great. Because, that's one of those forgotten radio stations. Bob Barker was on that station back in the 1950s, and that's how he got discovered by Ralph Edwards. Of course, back then, I think it was probably middle of the road or full service because TV was just in its infancy back then. But it's good to hear some history about AM 1230 in its latter years. In fact, you eventually worked there. Did you ever get to meet that DJ you idolized?
I never got a chance to meet him per se. I did talk to him on the telephone, and I won an album from him. But there was another radio personality named Don Tracy that I actually did end up getting, and then another radio personality named Leisha Shear. I actually did get a chance to work with them at the same station, but it was a different format at that time, later on, back in the 90s.
Oh, wow. What was the format then? Because I remember it had an interesting name, kind of like a motivational name to the station. I think it was.
It was called AM 1230 KYPA Personal Achievement Radio, and it was a motivational station where they had a bunch of authors that would come on, and they had probably about 15 to maybe 20-minute segments. They had a business segment, they had a healthy lifestyle segment, and I can't remember the third one. But it was a network station. So I was on in different markets on that station, just from that one station.
Wow. And you got to host the different segments on the air, correct?
Yes. About 2 minutes after, of course, they had the news segment at the top of the hour. And then 2 minutes after we started, I hosted what would be coming up and which authors would be coming up and what they would be reading, what they would be talking about. And it was real interesting. I'd never heard of a station like that before.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because that format really wasn't known, and there's still not really a format like that today. Who are the most interesting people you interviewed during your time there?
I didn't per se get a chance to interview anyone. I was an on-air network announcer, but I did get a chance to see Betty White came in, and she was being interviewed by someone on the local station AM 1230 in another studio. So I did get a chance to see her. I got a chance to see Woody Harrelson come in. He was doing like a commercial for them, working with somebody there. So I did get a chance to see those two people when I was there at the station.
That's great. And
but I never got a chance to speak with them.
Oh, man, I'm so bummed about that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's other celebrities you've gotten to meet over the years. And you had, I remember when we worked together, you presented me with an air check of the old AM 74 cheer radio K-Bright KBRT.
Yeah.
How did you discover that interesting station, which was Christian music from sunrise to sunset with mainstream DJs?
My youngest sister happened to be listening to that station, and I think I was just out of high school. It was the late, like 79, 80. And she was telling me about it. And so I started listening to it, and they had some great music on that station. As a matter of fact, I still play some of their songs on my internet station now. But I started listening to it back in the late 70s, early 80s, right when I graduated from high school and starting my first year of college was when I listened to it the most.
And a lot of those songs back when you introduced them to me were very hard to find, but now a lot of them you can find on YouTube because it seems like everybody's uploading just about everything, especially material that has yet to have been released on iTunes or whatever the newest platform is for new music. It just, like, for instance, I think We Are All His Children by Bruce Hibbard you can find on YouTube. Yep. Andrus Blackwood and Company. Andre Crouch has been pretty easy because, he was one of the most popular of the artists. Who are some of the other artists that you play on Gospel Vibes that were on that K-Bright Air Check?
I play the Boone Sisters. There was, David Meath. Mm-hmm. I had some of his music.
Who sound like the Bee Gees.
Yeah, definitely. You just sound like the Bee Gees. The Sweet Comfort Band. Steve Camp. Mm-hmm. So, there were a few artists that I played on there on when I had the Gospel Vibes radio broadcast.
A couple months ago, back in September, the Sweet Comfort Band performed 2 concerts in Southern California. There's an upcoming documentary about them, and it was Brian Duncan, Randy Thomas, and Rick Thompson there together on stage for one night in Chino, and then the next night I think it was in Orange County, and they were filming both of the concerts. And Bob Bennett was even at the one in Chino because I didn't realize he played on some of their songs, and so the ones he played live there as well. And they still sound great. It was like, oh my goodness. Randy's son, Randall Thomas Jr., does some of Randy's vocals now as well. But otherwise, when I first saw, I was like, this guy looks too young to be Randy Thomas, but he sounded just like him. I found out it was his son. No wonder he sounded just like him. But I wish you could have gone, but you're in Texas right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did get a chance to see the Sweet Comfort Band perform back in the early 80s at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. At the time, I didn't know that was the Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa that I would be working for later on in life. But my brother-in-law and I, we had a gospel group back in the 80s, and I told him about the Sweet Comfort Band and that they were going to be performing, and we drove out to Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, and actually saw them perform live. And I think their Breaking the Ice album was the one that was just out at that time because they performed a lot of songs off of that album.
That was a great record. And you had a group. Who are your musical influences stylistically as well as spiritually in the music that you did?
Well, I grew up listening to R&B because I had 2 older sisters, and I was close to them as far as the music wise. I liked Al Green, the Jackson 5, of course. Mm-hmm. Later on, Earth, Wind and Fire, and the Ohio Players. I would listen to those groups. And then in the gospel music with Andre Crouch, the Hawkins Singers, Andrews Blackwood and Company, and let's see, Tony Comer and Crosswinds. Those were my influences in Christian music.
Wow. And did you put out any records yourself with your group?
No, we didn't get to put any records out. Actually, we did get a chance to go into a recording studio and make a demo tape, but there wasn't very much that came out of it. But our gospel group was pretty popular back in the early to mid 70s, the late 70s, around the Los Angeles church circuit area. So we did get a chance to perform in several churches, and we even performed at Chino Prison.
Wow.
And MacArthur Park. So those were two highlights that we did, Chino Prison and MacArthur Park.
Now, the demo tape that you did, do you still have that somewhere, or have you gotten a chance to digitize it?
The demo tape that I did, that we did, was with the R&B group that I was with later. But I think I still have some performances of our gospel group when we performed at churches. I would make it a point to take a tape recorder, and I would record our performances at the churches.
Oh, okay. That's good.
So there are still some on cassettes. I have tons of cassettes, so I'd have to find them, but I know I do have them somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's just trying to find them and then finding a good platform to digitize them. Although the cassettes that you bought at the store were so much higher quality than the ones the record companies put out, it seemed.
Yeah. Yep. And what I'm doing now is I'm getting my studio and everything together. Is I'm getting my double cassette out, and I'm going to hook it up to my laptop and start transferring music into files from those cassettes.
Oh, great!
So I'm working on that as we speak.
Wow. And then I remember, I'm not sure how much people use AI technology. Like the Beatles recently put out an album or a single that was originally supposed to be on Anthology 3, but John Lennon's vocals were so muddied because of the tape deterioration, they decided not to release it. But with AI technology, they were able to kind of bring it back from, the cesspool and back into high quality. I'm not sure if you'd be able to do that with some of your music if the quality has deteriorated because of the tape quality. I'm not sure if you could do that or not, but I'm kind of curious about stuff like that, just kind of going through my mind right now.
Yeah, I've heard about AI. I haven't messed with any of it yet. Some of the things are over my head. I'm kind of old school with a lot of stuff, so the AI would be a different thing for me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you had also been working in radio since pretty much, I guess, the early to mid 80s. You were on 1390 KGER. Tell us about how you got that job, because that place was originally owned by John Brown University and then eventually Salem Media. Were you there with what year did you start there? And tell us about some of the stories working behind the scenes at that station.
When I started working for KGER, I had a radio program that I put on KIEV where I bought airtime. And after that ended, I wanted to really get into radio because I was really trying to get into radio. And what I did was after I got laid off, I got my severance check and I bought a stereo mixer from Radio Shack, which I still own today, and it still works. I bought a CD player and a double cassette, and I started making audition tapes. And I took audition tapes to two stations, and one of them just happened to be KGER in Long Beach. And when I pulled into the parking lot, it was just like I'm talking to you. A voice said to me, "This is where you're going to be working." And I walked in, and I just felt a sense of warmth when I walked in there. And one of the ladies, the secretaries, came out and she asked me, what did I need? And I told her I was looking for the operations manager and I wanted to drop off my tape and resume. And so she says, well, I'll give it to him for you. Well, at that time, I lived in about 20 minutes away from the station from Long Beach. So I got on the freeway and went home. And when I got home, there was a message on my answering machine, and it was KGER saying, how would you like to come in and do an on-air internship? I kept hearing internship, and I didn't want to do an internship, but I missed the on-air part. But I said, yes, if it'll get my foot in the door, yes, I would love to come in and do that. So I went in a couple of days later and met with the operations manager, and there was supposed to be a 6-month training internship, but I learned everything in 3 months because I was just so excited to be able to get into radio, and I wanted it so bad because I was going to school for radio and TV broadcasting, and I didn't get my degree in it, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I learned everything from so fast that they decided to let me be the fill-in guy for one of the radio people he was a board op for Weekend Review at Hal Lindsey on Saturday mornings. And then he did his shift from noon to 6. So with me learning everything as quickly as I did, the operations manager said, well, look, I want you to learn this so when this guy goes on vacation, you can fill in for him. So I had to learn how to patch cord. Patch cord. I know some people, when they hear that, they're going to go, patch cord, really? I had to learn how to patch cord, and I had to dial up switch 56 to one of the guys that was in Washington. I think his name was John Gizzy. I had to dial up switch 56 for him, and then I had to go in and run the board for Hal Lindsey, his weekend review program, and then from 10:30 to noon, and then I would go on from noon to 6 on the KGER for the person that I was filling in for. And about 3 months after that, they were offering me a part-time job because I had learned everything except for the morning shift.
Oh yeah, and
so
go ahead.
And so I learned everything from there. And I wasn't there very long before KGER was going to cease broadcasting. And so what happened was we were told that if that everybody was going over to the parent station, which was KKLA, Salem, KKLA. And so I think the engineer, Bill Sheets, at that time told us that, if you get KKLA on your resume, you can go anywhere in radio because at that time KKLA was the tops, and stuff. So we were told if we wanted to go over there and see if we could get jobs over there at the new AM 1230 or AM 1390, which was going to be K-Light, to give our tapes and resumes to the operations manager because they had 2 full-time positions, and then they had all part-time position openings. So we pretty much went over there, and in February of that year, we were all hired on as part-timers over at K-Light.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And I remember the imaging voice they had for it sounded like Lloyd Bridges. The light is on, AM 1390 K-Light.
Yeah, and they also had these jingles that were gospel-like jingles, but it was for the talk station until they finally started playing music. And then it kind of went with it after that. But before, they put the jingles on, and then, you're hearing these gospel-sounding jingles, but they're playing talk shows, and stuff. So it was really interesting to do that. But I got a chance to also do the gospel music show for that station and also do a gospel brunch, which was fun.
That's right.
Do for AM 1390.
We're talking with Robert T. Graves. He's the host of PrayzMyx96, and spelled PrayzMyx 96 on live365.com. And next time, we'll find out where those gospel brunches took place in Southern California. Also, some of the artists he's gotten to meet over the years. We'll share stories about that next time.